Hi, I'm Lee Moreland, and I want to talk to you today about one of the great treasures of St. John's Cathedral, and that's our Cathedral Library. I think most of us are familiar with the space that houses the library. It's a great place to gather in between services on Sunday, and lots of things happen there during the week. But you may not know that the library is home to literally thousands of books and other items. And the books aren't just about religious topics, they're about any topic. In fact, after this video, we'll post a link to our online card catalog, and I'd encourage you to take a look. I think you'll be surprised at what's in our collection. Over the next several weeks, we're going to be highlighting the Cathedral Library, and we're beginning with some of our best books, the books by local authors. And we couldn't pick a better person to start with. It's Georgiana Vines and her book, East Tennessee Newsmakers, Where Are They Now? I think all of us know Georgiana. She's a long-time respected journalist and writer for the News Sentinel. But she's also written this book. So, Georgiana, thanks for talking to us.
Glad to be here.
And I guess before we talk about the book itself, I'd like to ask a little bit about you. We're all familiar with your work for the paper, but how'd you get into journalism?
It started in my senior year of high school at South Dade High School in Florida. I took a creative writing class, and in that class we put out the student newspaper, the Rebel Review. That probably times when I was there. I graduated from high school in 1957. And in this class, I was selected as the editor the second semester. And it was a new high school. My class was the first to go through it for all 4 years. And it was still sorting things out. And there was some interest in honoring the honor students at the school, because they had never received any kind of special recognition in a ceremony of any kind. So I wrote an editorial saying that they deserved to be honored just like our athletes at the school did. And we were the South Dade Rebels. As I said, this dates the school. It's changed all its mascots and everything. So, the editorial did have to be read by the principal, and the advisor did show it to him. And I guess he let it go because it got some letters or reaction from the student body and faculty members. And at graduation that year, those who were in the honor roll got to wear a gold tassel around their robe, and they were acknowledged as being part of the honor students of the class. So that showed me that in journalism you might be able to make a difference. I read the Miami Herald at the time, particularly on Sundays, and I entered an essay contest there twice, and was first one year I was first, and another year I was second for the best of the letters from my high school. But all of us got to be invited to a luncheon in Miami that the Herald put on for the essay writers. So I was starting to get really good experience and feedback, see, on my writing. So that's how it started.
That began a great career.
It turns out I've had a wonderful career.
Yeah. Well, so that leads us to the book.
It does.
Tell us about your book. Why did you decide to write this book?
Okay. I never intended to write a book. I didn't go into journalism to write a book. I know a lot of journalists who do that. But I have a very good friend, Fran Scheidt. She is a retired West High School English teacher. And now I've done a variety of work at the paper, and my most recent job is as political columnist. Mm-hmm. But I retired full-time in 2005. But as I was nearing the end of my retirement and then getting into being partially retired or semi-retired and doing more work for the paper, I was asked to do for the feature section a series on Where Are They Now, featuring people who had been newsmakers in the community, who no longer were newsmakers, either because they retired, changed jobs, or moved from the community. So that's what the series was called. It came out monthly. And that's how it all started. Well, my friend said, Georgiana, you just got to do a book on those stories. So I live downtown across from the University of Tennessee Press, and I ran into someone who works in that office one day, and I said, I have this friend who's really after me to publish a book. I was wondering if you all might be interested. So I went in and met with an acquisitions editor, and I had kind of some ideas of some of the stories I thought should be in it. And the first thing he said to me was, you've got to include stories on the Smoky Mountains National Park. And this is why. My father was superintendent of the park in the 1960s. And my parents lived in Gatlinburg when I came to Knoxville in 1968. So I've been very much associated with that park. I never lived in the park. I didn't live in Gatlinburg. I do have brothers who lived in the superintendent's residency there, and then one who graduated from high school there, and my other brother ended up going to St. Andrews and graduating from high school. Okay. But so then I came up with stories that we call it in here park personalities. So this doesn't represent, this is a small portion of all of my work. All of the stories that are in this book, with the exception of one, appeared in the News Sentinel at one time, and then I updated them for this book. So at the time it came out in 2019, it was very current on the people involved. In fact, there was at least one person who died while I was working on it, and his widow was really helpful in helping me update it at the time. And actually, I can think of somebody else who got sick. I would like to point out that there are stories in here on two of our parishioners, Mary Lynn Majors and Annette Anderson. And I'll never forget when I went out to interview Mary Lynn, Johnny Majors was still living. And he said, now you've come out to interview her, right? I said, yes. He says, well, I'm leaving. I said, please don't leave till I get your photograph, because I did want a picture of them together. Yeah. So she's explaining in the picture that's in the book how she was noted for her flower arranging. Sure. And there used to be a spring festival here that she was very much a part of. When I say here at St. John. So, but flower arranging was really her forte. So she's explaining in the picture to Johnny how she put flower arrangements in. And it was so much fun. And he said, well, now since you're not interviewing me, I'm leaving. And so he took off. It was that kind of thing. It was fun. Yeah, it was fun.
It's a great book. It's a fascinating book. And if you're like me and you've been around East Tennessee for a while, some of these names are a refresher to you. You maybe knew them early on and maybe forgot about where they were. So it's great to catch up with these people. How many people are in the book?
I believe there are 47 personalities. And so you can tell that, and these are brief, basically short bios. I mean, these are not in-depth stories. It wasn't designed with that in mind. It's just to tell who they are, what they're doing, and essentially why you wrote the story to begin with or why they're in the book. Okay. And I would like to have other people in the book, and if it's ever reprinted for any reason by UT Press, I would like to add some more personalities to it. And I have updates I can do too.
Good. So there's a lot of people. You had to do a lot of homework to track people down.
I worked on it about 2 years.
After you think about all the people in the span of years that is in this book, were there any surprises, anything that a situation that turned out differently than you thought it might have?
Well, I'm not real sure. I did have difficulty getting one of the stories updated, and it was on Sissy Baker. The daughter of the late Senator Howard Baker, because I had written a story on her for the News Sentinel, and at the time she was applying for a job, and I think she thought she was going to get it with NBC in the Washington Bureau, because she's been in the management part of the news business, not on site like we are, on screen, on the camera itself, but in the background. Well, that didn't materialize. Well, I couldn't put that story in the book the way it was written. I could not get that woman to I had her phone number, I had her email. So we went originally without it in there, but UT Press really wanted that updated if we could get it because while Howard Baker isn't in the book, his widow, when he died, is. And so they wanted me to be sure and include, and that's Nancy Landon Cossenbaum Baker. And so they wanted Sissy too. Okay, I went to a program at the Baker Center just to see if it might be some column fodder, as we call it, after Senator Corker retired. He was doing a Q&A, and it turned out to be the day that the Baker Board of Directors met. And there was Sissy Baker in the audience. So I tackled her. And then we had an interview, and then I could update the story. So I was really glad that happened. So I was surprised I didn't hear back from her, and she's got her reasons why she didn't get back with me. But then once I was almost in her face about it, she was very accommodating.
Well, good. It is a great book. If you've been around East Tennessee for a long time, you'll be interested to see what happened to a lot of the people that you knew. But if you're new to the area too, this is a good way to get acquainted with what makes East Tennessee unique. Georgiana, it is a great book. Next month, we're going to have an opportunity for a book signing for you to talk to Georgiana more. So please stay tuned for more information about that. But thank you very much.
Well, this was fun.
I enjoyed it. Thank you.
I did too.